I'm Mr. MegaManFan, and this is the Mem Card Pro, or MCP for short, which is a name that throws me off a little bit when I say it because it makes me think of the Master Control program from Tron. Sock, all my functions are now yours. Take them, Sock. End of line. Anyway, this thing is a virtual memory card which uses micro SD cards to run any memory card in any game that you want and create multiple memory cards within that game. All thanks to a field programmable gate array built into the actual unit, along with an OLED screen that displays what game you're playing if you're using it with an optical drive emulator. If you're not, it just displays what channel of the memory card you're on when you switch from one to the next. It reminds me a little bit of the Dreamcast VMUs, although obviously with an OLED it's a more sophisticated display, but I actually don't know that it needed to be more sophisticated than a VMU. It's a little bit of gimmickry if you ask me, but some impressive gimmickry all the same. I was confused at first when I opened this up that there were no instructions. I thought maybe something was missing, and then I realized it was a tiny little slip of paper stuck inside of the box itself, not in the tray, and it's not even a manual. It makes you scan the QR code and go to a website so you can look at the instructions in a PDF file as to how to use the MemCard Pro, aka MCP. So, here's what happens when you pull up that QR code and download the PDF. You get a warning, and it says, if you bought two of these things and you're using them simultaneously in two different slots of your PlayStation 1, PS1 Slim, or a PS2, contact us for replacements because using two at the same time can cause a problem. Well, thankfully, I only bought one, so that's not going to be an issue for me. It also tells you how to set up your device. You're going to need several files: the MCU bin, the FPGA bin, and the operating system, which are all conveniently provided in one place by the manufacturer. You just click on download, unzip the file, put them in an already formatted micro SD card. If you haven't formatted it, go ahead and format it right now. FAT32 is the standard default for EverDrives and FPGA devices, so go with that. It's what I did, and it worked just fine. It's funny that the page it took me to said not compatible with Mac operating system, but it's just files you're going to put on a micro SD card, so I don't see what sort of incompatibility they're referring to, because I unzipped the file, moved the files to the SD card, and it was done, and I had everything I needed to boot up my MemCard Pro. Once you have all those files in there, you put it in slot 1 of your PS1, PlayStation 1, or PlayStation 2, and it will start installing everything. You have to be careful when you're doing the first time setup. Don't go into a memory card browser, don't boot a game, don't get cute, just let it run through the setup. It's drawing power from your PlayStation, and it's installing all of the files onto your MemCard Pro, so just let it do its thing. It's gonna take a minute or two. It'll look a little something like this. You'll turn on your PlayStation, it'll boot up to the default screen, assuming that you don't have a game loaded in, and then if you look at the OLED display on your MemCard Pro, you will see that it's on and it's going through the installation process. It gives you a timeline that shows you where in the process you are, how far along it's gotten. As you can see, it's one tick at a time. It's not super fast when you're doing the setup, so I actually cut some of the footage out here and skipped to the end. There's the last tick, update complete. But then it restarts, reboots if you will, and it actually installs some more stuff for the field programmable gate array. So you're not quite done yet. It's going to reboot one more time, and then you're finally ready to start using your MemCard Pro. Which just leaves you with the question, What exactly can you do with this thing? Well, if you're using the web interface, which it has built-in Wi-Fi so you can do that, you can do several things. You can create new memory cards to mount or unmount. You can scroll through the channels on that memory card. Each one has 1 through 8 by default, so you can switch to any of the memory card channels on that memory card, and you can rename them, and you can download your memory cards. And, well, there's not too much you can do through the web interface beyond that. You can change some of the basic settings of your MemCard Pro, like the brightness of the display and whether or not it dims when it's in standby, and that's really it. I was underwhelmed, if I'm being honest, because I thought this would actually let you manage the files on the memory card images, but it doesn't let you do that. I think I need some sort of MCD editor because that's the file type that it creates. I haven't found one yet. I don't know of one. So all I can do is copy the raw files to and from the actual MemCard Pro SD card. I can't edit the contents inside of the MCDs. That's a little disappointing to me. You can't do it through the interface. I can't do it on my desktop. But you can find MCD images like this program called Free PSX Boot. Now essentially this is the same idea as Tony Hacks, except a new way of implementing it. You don't have to create a save file on your memory card, put in Tony Hawk Pro 2 or 3, and then open the save file in the game. This one just lets you open the memory card image and it'll do the same trick where it lets you freeboot any CD that you put into your PlayStation. Doesn't matter if it's got the wobble groove or not. Any CDR backup of any game that you have will work with Free PSX Boot. So far, this is the best thing I've found to do with the MemCard Pro until I've got a way to actually manage the MCD images and either delete or add saved games to a memory card image. This is as useful as I've found it to be. I feel like they'll update the firmware at some point and maybe actually let us do memory card management, but right now you're still stuck doing it through the actual PlayStation operating system. But like I said, this is a fun little trick you can do because it creates a memory card image that you just rename once you drop it into your SD card. Go to your default mounted memory card and change the file name to memory card 1. If you want to back up your memory card 1 that you were previously using, just rename that to something else. But as long as it's the first image in the first memory card that's mounted, it will run that file when you select the memory card from the operating system homepage of your PlayStation. And then you'll think something went wrong because you'll get a blank screen for what seems like a really long time, like 20, 25, maybe even 30 seconds. You'll think it crashed. You'll think your PlayStation 1 is locked up, or maybe you'll even panic and think it's bricked. Don't panic. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy tells you don't panic, so I'm telling you the same thing. Just wait. Eventually, you'll get something that looks like a Commodore 64 boot up screen. Obviously, somebody who programmed this Free PSX Boot was very affectionate for the C64, and I approve of that. When you get this menu, you'll wonder if you need to plug in a keyboard, but if you just hit X on the PlayStation controller, it'll bring up a list of options for you. Booting a game, managing your memory card data, and loading a CD that can work in tandem with the MemCard Pro Free PSX Boot. There's different things you can do here. Honestly, more than you can do from the UI interface of the actual MemCard Pro. A little strange that way, but it is what it is. So to test out the free boot function, I've got the same CDR that I used with Tony Hacks, and I'm putting it in right now. When you start a game up, it actually tells you to remove your free PSX Boot memory card. But with MemCard Pro, you don't have to do that because you can just switch to another channel on your MemCard Pro. You can either do it manually with the buttons on the MemCard Pro. The left one changes one channel down, the right one changes one channel up. Or you can do it with a keypad command. I believe it's R1, L1, select, and then left or right on the D-pad to change which channel you're on. So you don't have to physically remove the MemCard Pro like I did here. But if you're using an image you put onto a regular memory card, then you would probably want to swap it out while it's booting up for a different memory card. Either way, you can see that it works perfectly here. Booted up my CDR of Pepsi Man with no problem. And I even went so far as to create a save file on the memory card I swapped in, just to make sure that everything was working according to plan. And I took the disk out, rebooted it, and there's my Pepsi logo showing me that the Pepsi Man save file was created successfully. So that's what you can do with the Memory Card Pro. I just hope somebody comes along with an MCD editor that lets you change the saved games, delete, or add new ones to the MCD images, and then it would be way more useful than it is right now. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. This has been the Retro Hunting Adventures, and I hope you've enjoyed this review of the Mem Card Pro. Thanks for watching.